afternoon to everyone. My name is Luca Piccin. I'm a junior researcher in human geography, and today I would like to illustrate a synthesis of the work on the participatory multi-level foresight that our team of Origin for Sustainability has done so far, and will carry on with our partners and the local stakeholders in the next months. In this presentation, I will start introducing what is moving. Then we will see the main principles and objectives of the foresight. Then we'll go through the different scales of implementation and the connection with other work carried out in the moving project. And then we'll see the methodology steps and key actions that will be developed through a general overview of the multi-level foresight. So what is moving? Moving means mountain valorization through interconnectedness and green growth, and is a 4-year project which involves 23 partners coordinated by the Spanish University of Cordoba. The project is funded by the Horizon 2020 program. The main objective of the project is to build capacities and co-develop relevant policy frameworks across Europe for the establishment of value chains that contribute the resilience and sustainability of mountain areas to climate change. So here you can see the 23 reference regions. And the moving project is based on this structure. We started from creating a conceptual base, and on this conceptual base, we developed some tools for analysis. Then we start with an inventory of 400 value chains across Europe. Then we selected 23 case studies that we are analyzing in depth, and then we will make a cross-case comparison, trying to understand what are the value chains potential, and then we will have a foresight exercise to build a collective vision about the future. All of these actions will be followed by an in-depth policy analysis and roadmap. And in the meanwhile, we also have a policy audit aiming to understand how policies are carried out at different levels to identify new or updated policies. Why are we conducting this foresight? First of all, because we want to select the drivers and the game changers that will shape the future of mountain value chains by 2050. This identification is based on the previous work developed on the moving project. Since these drivers will be identified, we will produce scenarios, narratives that will be used by each partner to conduct foresight exercises. These exercises will take the form of participatory workshops with local stakeholders at local, cross-regional, and European levels. Such exercises aim to gather all relevant stakeholders around the table and stimulate discussions to share views and ambitions regarding their own future. It's important to say that another objective of the project is to be pragmatic and help local actors to benefit from our research. So they will be provided key elements to see possible scenarios and explore potential actions in order to face ongoing and future challenges. The narrative scenarios and foresight exercises will be implemented at different scales. As we said before, at regional level, at the cross-regional level, and then the pan-European level. In other words, drivers of change that will influence and shape the narrative scenarios will be selected in function of the impact that they will have on the farms and enterprises, on the whole value chain, but also on the territory. This means that our focus will go beyond value chains, as we want to look at their connection and interrelations with other elements of the territory. The question that we would like to answer here is how will the selected value chain impact the region's sustainability and resilience by 2050? So the foresight is based on the outcomes of the previous and ongoing works done in the moving project, which are providing us with contextual information about past and future trends of the different drivers under climate change. We can think about maps and other science society policy interface tools, and more generally, data on the vulnerability and sustainability of the value chains that will be useful for selecting the drivers and lining up the narrative scenarios. Another important fact is that the development of visual tools and the participatory appraisal of vulnerability and performance of value chains have played a critical role to identify the local stakeholders and create interest in our project. The participatory multi-level foresight will capitalize on the relations built with the local actors to further discuss and brainstorm about the future of mountain regions. Of course, our goal is also to build useful data for the successful implementation of the next step of the MOVING project, the policy analysis and roadmap. So let's go back to the technical aspects to see some key steps of the participatory multi-level foresight. Our goal is to answer the question, what is going to happen in 2050? To do so, we will produce a set of 4 possible scenarios called exploratory scenarios. This will be discussed in each region with the local stakeholders to identify together what is the most desirable future for them. We decided to base our work on 5 drivers. 3 of them will be compulsory and shall be the same for all the regions. But as every region has a specific complex reality, partners will be allowed to choose 2 optional drivers. It's important to keep in mind that this exercise must reflect the local specificities in order to capture the main concerns at local level. But at the same time, we must be able to scale up to have results comparable at the regional and European scales. Based on the key drivers, qualitative pathways to 2050 will be produced to draw up scenarios that will be discussed and handed over by local stakeholders. So as you can see in this scheme, the 5 drivers are identified in the left column. Each driver has different alternative assumptions described in each line. And there are multiple possible impacts of the drivers. So based on the different drivers and related assumptions, it is possible to develop scenarios. You can see some examples in the scheme where each arrow represents the potential scenario. Although it may not be possible for all partners to implement a backcasting activity, we thought that it should be interesting to look at the desirable future identified in face of the previous analysis undertaken in our mountain value chain and region. For example, we can check at what extent there is consistency between the results and the main pathway identified by the foresight, which could be of interest to local stakeholders, but also for policy recommendation for the next stage of moving. To sum up, in short, we will provide a methodology and guidelines together with the compulsory and optional drivers. At the cluster level, optional drivers will be selected and their respective assumptions will be developed. At this stage, we recommend to discuss the optional drivers and assumptions with the local stakeholders through a workshop. Then, once these drivers and assumptions are settled, our team will provide the narrative scenarios to be discussed further with the local stakeholders again. We do insist on the need to make this workshop participatory and to involve as much as possible the local partners. The outcome of such discussions is, of course, to elaborate a roadmap and stimulate discussion regarding the future of the value chain and the mountain territories. This is all for the moment, and thank you for listening. Yeah, thank you.